Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good afternoon. It's Jeff Johnson, your host of the Local Leaders Podcast, and I'm excited today to be here with Ben Burley, the owner of Full Metal Burgers, and we're excited to have you here. Thank you, brother, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, we are always like to welcome our business owners who've had great success and enjoy the opportunity to gather that information and knowledge you got up there in that head of yours. And share it with our listeners. So they'll all be sitting at the edge of their seat, just waiting for those golden nuggets to drop. No pressure.
Oh, yeah, no, none at all, right?
Well, I set it up for a lot there. I hope we can pull it off together, maybe.
But, low expectations, right?
Yeah, maybe we should try to lower those in the future. But yeah, Ben, we want to hear all about Full Metal Burgers and kind of what you guys have been doing, how you started, and just kind of what's going on over there. Tell us a little about your place.
Yeah, so we're a heavy metal themed burger joint. We're based out of Vista, California, but we're doing most of our business over in Oceanside these days. We partnered up with Black Plague Brewing coming out of the pandemic as everything was allowed to reopen. The breweries here in Southern California needed partners for food to be able to be open and satisfy the health department requirements. So we had a great relationship with them previously. We just solidified that further, and we've been going 7 days a week there with them for more than a year now. So we ramped up from the typical food truck schedule of 3-4 days a week, bouncing around from different places, to essentially running a full-time restaurant. And we went from a full stop to full on go with about 2 weeks notice. So there was a lot of ramping and build up and stress along with it, but we've survived, we're thriving, and we're continuing to grow now. So we're super thankful and just really taking it day by day and figuring out how to keep going forward with the way the world's changed.
Yeah, it's been significant, obviously, with the pandemic where it is, and we thought we were coming out from under it, and now it seems to be kind of pressing back down on us a little bit. And I know every owner out there, every business owner, but especially on the restaurant side of the world, is really concerned because it was a dramatic change that took place.
Another understatement there too. Yeah.
Did you guys have a heavy takeout, dine out kind of business before COVID, and did you change it?
Didn't. The format previously was you set up over at the breweries, you get the word out that that's where you're going to be, and you hope that people hear and they come over to you, and they're tracking you down either because they're going there for the beer or they're hopefully coming for your food. Right. Once COVID hit and being able to be somewhere 7 days a week, we definitely did see an impact on our to-go sales. We were only able to do to-go for a little bit. And then once on-site dining started coming back, now we have a bit more balance where, again, it feels like we're not running a food truck anymore. We're running just a full-on restaurant over there with them.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, and I guess at least you had the mobility, that with the food truck, so that you weren't stuck in one spot and worried about indoor dining.
Well, and that's something that's come, a lesson that's come with all this is just being adaptable and taking whatever our weakness previously may have been that we didn't have a roof over our head and that we were mobile and hoping that people would come find us, but that allowed us to weather the storm and adapt and survive to be where we are now, to be looking at getting back to something that's a little bit more normal,
Yeah, and that is if we ever get back to I guess more normal. It's not going to be as normal, but more like the new normal is who knows what these days.
No, but we can get to it down the road on a long-term plan thing. But I think we've been presented with a unique opportunity coming out of COVID that the entire industry has changed. And I think there's opportunity within the food service sector to change the way that the jobs are viewed, that people are treated, to provide benefits, 2 days off next to each other, weekends and holidays on occasion. It's a tough industry as it is, but at the end of it, it's a trade to me, just like it is, electricians or plumbers or anything else. You're working with your hands. It's a skill. There's different levels of classes of the people that are good at it, from the top tier chefs all the way down to the dishwashers. But there's an element that's been missing from the industry that I think we can kind of plug back into as we rebuild and come out of this thing with COVID.
Well, that's a positive way to look at it. Absolutely. Because, and that gets to the whole work-life balance piece. Those in the restaurant industry have never really had a whole lot of that. Some people are better at it than others. How do you balance the two, and are you able to balance the two?
Well, I would tell you that I do an okay job. My wife might have a different answer on what my free time looks like.
I was about to say that your wife might have better input for us for that.
Recently, I'm super fortunate. I have a fantastic team. Everybody works super hard. They're dedicated to what they do. And that's where I feel that I can speak from a position of strength towards these things that we're going to try to grow towards, because I have that team that has my back as we're trying to do something big like that. They've been allowing me to get off of being the guy on site cooking or taking orders or running food, to where I'm actually able to work on a lot of our back end stuff. So just 2 weeks ago, we bought a new van. We're ramping up our catering for off-site backyard barbecues, weddings, birthday parties, things like that we haven't been able to do ever since we were shut down for COVID. So the balance is kind of an ebb and a flow, because you get comfortable, and then you can find a little bit more of that free time to reclaim some of your time. But also, if you're going to try to grow and build it into something bigger than what you've already got, you've got to, again, sacrifice that time when it becomes available to drive forward and work on the projects that need to be done to do it.
Yes, sir. That's a good point, because anytime you're thinking about growth, you've really got to think about, is the growth worth the trade-off of time? Because you're really trading time and money for money.
Yep. And trying not to break it. You get a system that works, and then you introduce extra pieces and parts into it, and it may not work the same. So what I found is, don't try to go too fast. You got to enter the pieces slowly and kind of test it, see your results, follow your metrics, and then go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of growth, so you talked about catering and doing more of the offsite stuff, offsite food service. Are you thinking, is it now just a terrible time to consider, growing the business to new locations, for example? Are you looking at that?
Yeah, so that in addition to doing the offsite stuff, we're looking at if we're able to expand out to other locations for maybe a 3-day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday event at one spot, similar to what we have with Black Plague. Mm-hmm. And then I've always been hunting for a brick and mortar location for us also, but with the eviction moratorium just ending, the way the housing market has been, commercial real estate is still pretty expensive and hasn't had the impact that was anticipated from COVID yet. We're just in kind of a wait and see, again, develop our strengths, lean into the things that we're doing well, and try to set ourselves up so that we're in a position to move and strike as soon as something presents itself.
Yeah, well, I think that's the entrepreneurial way of looking at things, and making sure that once the market's ready or conditions become more helpful or more fruitful, then you're able to kind of pounce on it and jump in there. You mentioned,
to your point earlier too, we may not even be returning to a sense of normalcy. We may have another lockdown on the horizon here, where they're saying you can't go out. So is it the best time to get into a brick and mortar? It's really hard to say, but kind of keeping all the cards and options open versus closing doors.
Yeah. And again, that's the way you have to think about it. And, so many people that I talk to are restaurant owners specifically are It's funny, and frankly, it's about 50-50s of the owners that I talk to. Some of them are just rocking on and opening new locations like it's nothing going on. And, frankly, to me, that's seems crazy, but these guys are successful entrepreneurs who know how to do it. So they're making it work.
And there's been opportunity with the pandemic to either fill spaces that became vacant or spaces that we didn't even realize were vacant before. I mean, I think a lot of people realized they could utilize their kitchen space more effectively by doing the ghost kitchen thing. And so now you're able to get onto Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of the delivery services, and you can essentially run 3 restaurants out of your same kitchen with your same staff. It just becomes a branding issue and how you get the, branding and marketing, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was a super interesting development that I saw come out of COVID, and nothing that we tried to go ourselves. But to your point, there's opportunity out there for the people that are wily and crafty and paying attention.
Mm-hmm. And commissary, I guess, might be another opportunity for some folks, just providing some of that infrastructure, whether it's full kitchen or just a storage facility to, to help the smaller restaurant owners to be able to buy better, maybe buy in more bulk and things like that, because frankly, food prices are ridiculous, right?
Well, I was just reading, and I didn't realize this until I stumbled across this article the other day. California in 2018 passed a law saying that there needs to be more ethical treatment of animals. The majority of chicken or poultry and beef production is able to adapt to those regulations and continue to ship into California, but only 5% of pork producers in the entire country are going to be able to make the conversion before the January 1st deadline. And so if there's no intervention before then, all pork shipments to California will stop. So anything that's here, it will still be able to be sold, but there'll be nothing new coming in, which is going to lead to skyrocketing prices. We're going to see a run on bacon, and that's going to put a lot of the mom and pop breakfast places and people that have adapted to do those morning hours out, because that's such a heavy profit margin item.
Yeah.
So if that's suddenly unaffordable or unavailable, we're looking at a whole ripple effect from something that happened from a seemingly a good place. Everyone wants animals to be treated better, but there's this long ripple effect, and no one anticipated a pandemic in the middle of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how California handles that in the next couple of months as we come up on that window.
Well, I'm ashamed to admit I was not aware of that legislation and that it was rolling into effect in January, and that is just around the corner.
It's literally around the corner, and we're already starting to see that. I've had my case of bacon has gone from $66 in the pandemic to $108 now.
Wow.
And so that's just for a 25-pound box of bacon.
Yeah, that's crazy. And imagine what it will be when only 5% of the nation's production is capable of coming to you. I mean, that's
exactly.
It's not going to be something you're going to be able to affordably deliver, most likely, unless people are willing to pay.
And are people going to be willing to pay $6 or $8 for a portion of bacon along with their breakfast? Personally, I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe turkey bacon is coming.
And, that was the argument in the article, is that it could be that this is what forces either the more ethical treatment and the farms get in line, or it changes consumer eating habits. And so we're in a wait and see type thing.
Well, in California is so progressive. I have a daughter in California. I'm all the way over in North Carolina on the other end of the world from you guys, but she's over there near LA. And, I could see turkey becoming the norm in California much quicker than in North and South Carolina.
See, I'm from the East Coast, and I can see it happening here too, but I know my boys back home are not going to take that.
Yeah, no, we're not going to like it at all over here. We want our bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit from McDonald's,
That's right.
all that kind of good stuff. And we, Southern families, we all got bacon and eggs and biscuits. And, I didn't know that. So thank you for sharing. There may be some listeners here today that they wasn't aware of that, and that may create or would create opportunity for substitute products, opportunity for new business models, different things that somebody out there listening to us is probably just taking that idea and their head started spinning about how they could take advantage of it.
And if there's a way, send it on to me because I need to know.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure that that the bacon burger over there will, could use all the help it can get, right?
Yeah, we don't want to lose that. That's one of our staples.
Yeah, I mean, everything's better with bacon.
That's right.
Everything. Well, that's that's good information. Thank you for sharing that and making me aware of it. I'm gonna have to look into that a little more. And you're right, the mom and pop breakfast places, diners, things like that are really going to have to do something different. And in a lot of cases, those businesses are run by, often run by long-term entrepreneurs who've been at it for 30, 40 years, and they don't necessarily change easily. So
no, and that's something that'll be, again, getting the information out to everybody. I'm tied into this industry and I try to think of myself as well-read, but I hadn't even heard of that. It just came across my radar yesterday.
Well, I don't feel quite as dumb then. So thank you again for sharing. I appreciate it, Ben. Hey, in terms of, let me ask you about staffing because we keep hearing about that. Has that been a major obstacle or challenge for you guys?
I mean, right now, the fact that I can't clone myself and just put myself out into the field and do all these catering things on my own is our biggest hurdle. I need more staff so that I can keep us running 7 days a week while we try to ramp up and do other things. And then if we were to open a brick and mortar, say by the end of the year, I'd be looking at having to triple my staff. And right now, just that seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I guess it goes back to speaking to the idea that the world's changed a little bit. And so we need to be able to provide a job that someone wants to go out and do, because if the wages aren't there to encourage someone to go and do it, then I can't really fault them for not wanting to go and work for less than what everybody else is paying. It's an interesting development now. Wages have been pretty stagnant in the US for about 40 years. And it seems like now across all industries, we're starting to see the reckoning of that, of people realizing that they have some power and that they're able to wield that. And, it just makes it more challenging from our side, but it's just another problem to solve. We figure out the way to attract talent that wants to go and work and run through walls and make good heavy metal hamburgers.
Yeah, exactly. And I was about to say California was one of the first in the country to jack that minimum wage. And you guys are y'all still at 15? Is that where it is?
So for us personally, our minimum wage is 14 because we're under 25 employees, but we've been paying $15 for the last 2 years for, after people complete their training with us, we bump them up to 15, and then there's a little bit more room to grow from there.
Yeah. And as you said, that those numbers may have to change and continue to climb.
It feels like it's just going up. It's a challenge because we're a small business. The margins are tight. We're still in growth phase of posting losses as we buy equipment and go and try to grow and do new things. We're still in that accumulation phase. So it is a challenge to try to balance the payroll and have enough people to deploy out and do all the things. But, that comes to it being another problem for me to solve. If we got to have the work there to keep people, to have good quality people and hold on to them. So that means we need to find more work, find more catering stuff, and just keep putting the foot in front of each other and trying to grow it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And, everyone I talk to is having the same problem across the country. It's not unique to California, as you probably well know. It's a national problem. A lot of politics involved there, which you and I aren't going to be able to solve. So we'll just keep away from it because all it'll do is make us mad, right?
I mean, it just ultimately comes down to the rubber of the road of it. If the wage isn't there to get somebody to work, then what are you going to do? You can't force them to go to work. There has to be a give and a take. It's
yes, sir.
Classic labor politics, like you said.
Yes.
We're not going to solve it. All we can try to do is find some people.
Yeah, exactly. And beg, borrow, and plead if we have to. And if you're a family member of a restaurant owner, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to take on a second job to help.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and I hear that a lot. It's like, hey, we got family and we got cousins and uncles and aunts, and we're dragging them in from anywhere we can to put them to work.
Hey, sweat equity is a thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, hey, let me shift gears a little bit because I want to be respectful of your time and get to a couple of other conversation points. I want to talk about leadership for just a minute.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that sounds like corporate talk or whatever, but as the owner of the business, you're obviously, you have to lead the business. And what would you say are the most important aspects of leading the business? And I didn't really give you a lot of heads up on this question, so
no, that's okay. It's actually, as I was speaking to you before, my guys have been freeing me up to do a lot of our admin stuff, and so part of that has been getting our corporate strategy in order and our business plan updated, revamping our mission statement and our vision and all of that. We had to update it coming out of COVID anyway, but I've seen these things where I'm trying to build our business into a thing bigger than just doing the hamburgers. I think there is something to this of creating a good, stable workplace for people, and that's where I'm trying to gear our business towards. So one of the pillars that we're building into all these documents is total transparency. So I'm very open with our guys. I try to explain what my thought process is on why I'm making a decision, what the thought that went into it was, what the end goal is. And then as we put these things into place, it's an open door both ways of here's the ask and what I need you guys to do, but I want the feedback on, is this working? What are the challenges? Am I giving you the tools that you need to do the thing that I'm asking you to do? So I think communication is always going to be the number one thing. You have to let people know what the expectation that you have for them is, and you need to be open to the feedback for what your processes are.
Yeah, and actually have a conversation with your team, and sometimes they may tell you something you don't want to hear, I'm sure.
And you have to be able to accept that, and it's. We're trying to build in something that we're identifying. We're calling it teaching versus blame. It's something that we're lifting from the medical industry. I've got a buddy who's in nursing, and it's something that they utilize. Things are going to go wrong. We're going to have orders that don't come out right. We're going to put the wrong cheese on something. Somebody's going to be unhappy with something. You're going to have two guys get into it because one didn't like the way the other handed a plate to him or something. Yeah. Issues are going to happen all the time. You have to be able to deal with those and move forward for the good of everyone and the business. And you don't achieve that by assigning the blame. Figure out where the process breakdown is, identify where the miscommunication happened, figure out what the actual process situation was that led to that being an issue, and try to fix that. That benefits the entire team, and you don't have an individual who may have been the one responsible for putting the wrong thing on, right, feeling singled out and in trouble and yelled at. It's operational. It's not that they failed, the process failed. So how do we fix that?
Yeah, and I think I love the idea of transparency. You don't see that in leadership all the time, and you tend to see it less and less as companies grow and get bigger. So maybe a future challenge for you guys will be to continue that as you start adding layers.
And that's why we're trying to rebuild all of our documents now before we hit that stride of growth. We're getting ourselves ready for it right now. So I don't want to be, I guess, we're 5 years into our business right now, and I'm behind on some of these things in my mind by 2 or 3 or 4 years of I should have had these documents in place. But we grew. It was a very small business. It was me working very closely with everyone that was in the company. Now I have managers that are training people. I want to make sure that my vision translates to the new people coming in, and that they have a document that I can lean on if we ever have a conversation in the future about something that says, hey, you were given these expectations on day one. Nothing's changed. Now we're having the conversation about where the failures were, what expectation wasn't met. what did the company not do? How did we set you up for failure? Whatever it may be. And it's just,
Right.
it goes back to the total transparency thing of the communication has to flow both ways in order to be successful and have buy-in from your employees and retain them.
Yeah, well, that's very well said. And as you were talking, it kind of led me to thinking about, you're talking about you have training, or you have people doing your training with new employees for you now, other managers, and it made me start thinking about training and how challenging that can be in the restaurant space as well. So are you guys doing anything differently now than you did before? Kind of.
If anything, we've gotten more efficient now that they've gotten me out of the way. I don't come from a restaurant background. I went to school for communications, and then I ended up in the foreclosure industry in 2008 at the height of the last financial crisis.
Yeah.
Now is maybe we're entering a new one. It's looking really similar to what it was the last time, so we'll see. But I have kind of a different way of looking at the business, the operations, the end goal. I didn't grow up in the restaurant culture. I didn't get my chops from being a line cook or anything. I figured out how to make a good hamburger. We have really strong branding and marketing, and we've been able to lean on that for a lot of our success. But once I wasn't the guy cooking everything, and I had some real professional chefs, guys that know this and that are even more passionate about it than I am, come in and take over that part of it. Our menu has grown. Our quality, I'm going to call it quality control, but it's the presentation, the way the items are all going out. Everything looks good for photos, for Instagram, for the person getting dropped off. We want that shock value of, wow, this looks awesome as soon as we drop it off to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they just excel at all that stuff. And I've seen it get better and better and better the more I focus on things that I'm good at, like this admin and, not even the bookkeeping, but it's the strategy, the vision, that type of stuff, driving the business forward, and let these guys handle the cooking. They've got it. So I think to wrap it up into a nice little bow, what we're trying to set up is a system where we have positions for just about everyone that wants to be involved in the food service industry. We're going to have a clear path to train them if they want to grow. We're going to have a long-term, career path also for, like, you want to be a dishwasher, then you want to be a line cook, then you want to be a head cook, then you want to be running a location. We're going to teach you how to do that. And there's going to be check boxes for, you've mastered these skills, so you're moving up, and now you've got your bump. So that, again, the expectations are super clear. It's very transparent. There's no favoritism involved in it. You don't have someone that's fully capable being held back because they don't get along with their manager. There's going to be things in place to make sure that we put people where they can be successful for themselves and for the business.
I think that's very well put, and it's not the first time you've had to say those things. So I'm sure you've been communicating it throughout the organization, and your communication skills come in there, and you can tell you've got you've got the visionary quality, and you probably enjoy that most. And what I heard you say in all that was, let me get out of the way, and let you be successful, right? And it takes a leader to be able to say that, because sometimes some people don't understand that moving over is the way to go in some cases. And
don't let me pretend like it's easy. That's been one of the hardest things, is letting them push me out. They actually they all call me Miley Cyrus because I'm a wrecking ball. And so anytime I'm in the tent, I'm always just messing up their system now, because I had a way of doing it. Now they have a way to do it. Their way is better. Let them do it.
Yeah. And you try to stay out of the way and not involve your process. Just let them rock and roll.
Just try to provide them the support with everything else and stability, and make sure that the business is on good standing and that we're able to keep going another week, another month, another quarter, and just keep driving it all forward.
Well, I love the fact that you're thinking about developing your employees, and sometimes we talk on here about leadership's role in developing people and giving them that education and that path growth that so many food service, so many jobs in the food service industry don't do that, or so many places don't have that opportunity for growth. I commend you on that. I think that's exceptional, and the folks that are working with you and they'll work with you in the future, it gives them a great opportunity and a great career path. And what else could you ask for?
It goes back to what we were speaking to before with the way that the job market has changed. If we're going to be a competitive business out there, we have to provide for our employees. And this is the way that I see the industry changing, that we can do that and set ourselves up for success while also setting them up for success. It's not a zero-sum game. Everybody can win. Yeah. I'm not trying to be a billionaire off of this business. That's not my end goal. I want to lead a comfortable life, have a place that I love going to work every day, and I want to be able to provide the same thing for everybody else that's working for me.
And how do you, that kind of leads me to this question. How do you get that message, that word out in the world? How do you let people know kind of what you're all about, and they're going to get all this kind of stuff if they come with you guys?
As we've been doing these corporate documents, something that I kind of stumbled on, just a phrase that keeps coming back to mind, is authenticity beats marketing. And it's just true 100% of the time. Our brand is 100% authentic. I was doing foreclosures. I was literally driving up to people's houses and changing the locks on their doors so that when they came home from work, they weren't able to get in, and they had to call the number that we had posted on the door to figure out what was going on. And that's an industry unto itself that we could talk for an hour about, but I was super unhappy doing it. And so I moved over to this because there was happiness here and greater opportunity. And I'm sorry, I started going down the rabbit hole in my head of how much I hate the foreclosure industry, and I lost track of the original question there.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was just wondering how you get that message of authenticity and stuff. How do you get it out? Yeah.
So it's a hard thing because you can't make something go viral. There's no way to put your burger or your restaurant or anything just out there with a guarantee that it's going to hit and get out to people. So it really is a daily grind and struggle. You look for the avenues where you're hitting the people that are going to be interested in what it is that you have to offer. So, for example, we joined the Vista Chamber of Commerce when we first started. Before we were even doing a lot of business in Vista. We were driving to San Diego every day. Yeah. But that allowed us to meet some local businesses and then get involved with one of the festivals here that put us in that beer garden that now people know us from being in the beer garden, year after year, which has led to catering gigs for groups that just never would have found us or never would have looked twice at us because we have a heavy metal logo and we're blasting heavy metal stuff and they don't understand what was going on with it. Mm-hmm. But once they saw us in an environment that they weren't used to, they kind of maybe got over that hump and they were willing to go and explore what it was. So to answer the question succinctly, like, how do you get your message in front of people? You keep doing what you're doing every day and utilize the free resources that are there, hit your network, join your local chamber, be involved in your community, and just talk to everybody. I mean, I carry around business cards that have free hamburgers on them because if I see a kid wearing a heavy metal battle vest, I'm going to give him a free hamburger card so that he'll take 3 of his friends over to the shop with him. Yeah. Little things like that you think of to try to hit your target market and spread the word and just get your reach out there. But it's hard.
Yeah, it is. But I think with your authenticity and your transparency and everything that you're doing, from a leadership standpoint, is going to translate to your employees who are going to be happier, and they're going to deliver an exceptional experience to your customers who come in, who in turn are going to tell somebody, right?
Exactly. If you look at our Yelp reviews, as many of them are about the food, I would say half of them are about our customer service. And that comes from the guys understanding the vision and the message, and that we're in this service industry where we're trying to give people a good time. They're coming out to us with their, hard-earned money to buy our food when there's a lot of other options out there.
Yes.
So it should be a good experience through and through.
Yeah. And I think that's a recruiting tool as well, because not only does it bring people to eat, but, it makes people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And if they can get that sense from everything that you guys are doing, I think it'll help you overcome that staffing issue one day, maybe not tomorrow, but one day.
But I got to just put a now hiring sign up on the desk right now, because it's a great point. People that are already engaged and are there and see an opportunity, maybe they just never thought about it.
Yeah. And like I said, they just want to be a part of something, and you guys,
that's a great idea.
Yeah, you guys have got it going on from what I can tell, and I've never had the opportunity to come in and enjoy a meal with you guys. I'm on the wrong coast, but
when you come to see your daughter, you can come swing down.
Absolutely.
It's an hour and a half drive from LA, but I promise the burger's worth it.
I would not doubt it one bit, and I will make the commitment to do that. In fact, it'll be a couple months down the road, but I'll be back over to California. I get over there several times a year, and she gets over this way, a time or two a year. She just graduated and started a real job, so it's
nice.
probably going to be more difficult to see her now. But at 22, they've got a life, right?
Hey, at 22, she's got a job. She's doing good.
Yeah. You're right. And we're all happy about that. Well, look, I know I'm gonna have to let you go here in just a minute. I just want to see if I can get one more thing out of you in the next minute. And that is one of the questions I've been asking lately to owners is kind of, how do you measure success on a day-to-day basis in your business? And I'm really thinking around, business metrics and, profit margins and things like that. Are you looking at sales and margins and things, or are you like many others who just kind of intrinsically know how you're doing by being there and being involved?
So that's another one of the things that I need to tighten up, because COVID's changed the price of everything. So I'm redoing all my cost analysis sheets, making sure our percentages are staying in line. But as far as the day-to-day, I check our sales. I look and see how we've done. I have a sense of what we typically do on a Monday versus a Thursday versus a Saturday.
Right.
So I can tell if we're having a good week. I got great advice early on when I was stressing out of, oh man, our sales were just down today. Our sales were down yesterday. I just beat myself up, not sure if this is working. And a buddy of mine who has an MBA said, you can't look at the day-to-day. You can't look at the week-to-week. You have to just make sure your quarter-to-quarter is staying strong. And that's the long view that helped in those early days of not getting too wrapped up in, okay, we were a little slow this week, so I got to have a good week this week. If you're doing it and it's going well, and you have that sense of like, okay, we're not just, bleeding out right now. You can kind of put that day-to-day off and push it to maybe the month-to-month, the quarter-to-quarter. Doesn't mean ignore it, but you don't have to live and breathe it every single day. And I think the best advice to pass on to somebody else that's in that position of early on and stressed about their books is just look at it by the quarter. It's a much less stressful way of doing it.
Well, and for our listeners who just heard that from Ben, we also heard it earlier today in another podcast from another business owner, said very much the same thing. In fact, he attributed it to his wife. He said, it's really, which was a smart move, number one. But he said, or she had said, business is like a stock. If you sit there and watch the ticker all day on the exchange, you're going to freak yourself out. You got to take a more long-term approach, and actually quarter to quarter was kind of the number, the thing she mentioned as well. So it's pretty interesting that we've heard that twice today. And actually, I'm taking that in, sitting here talking to you, because I worry about day-to-days and weeks-to-weeks, and seeing numbers turn the wrong way, and I've got to quit doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'll try to take some of that advice and put it to work. And all our listeners out there, you can do the same thing because again, you drive yourself nuts watching it, watching all the different metrics that flow through the business and the POS reports and getting into all those details every day. It's just
another thing on the success versus failure. Like something that I found is you wake up some days and you're ready to just go and do it and run through walls and take over the world and you can't do anything wrong. And then you have the other days that are the flip side of where it is a struggle to get out of bed and you don't even want to open your computer or look at your email or talk to the guys or go shopping or do it. And so recognizing that it's okay to have those days and that you're gonna, like, as long as you're not throwing in the towel, you know, if you're a business owner, ultimately you have the decision at any time to stop. You can shut your business down. You can just not do it anymore. Like you're your own boss. That's the beauty and the freedom of it. Mm-hmm. But if you're not going to do that, if that's just not on the table, that you're going to get through the day and you're going to go on to the next day, that's a win. Even if you don't get everything accomplished that you wanted to do, that your to-do list got longer and it didn't get shorter that day, you still got through that one. And the 7-day-a-week struggle is real and it's mentally tiring and it's a challenge, but that's another thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, I think, versus the metrics and the numbers and the other things that we use for success. Like keeping your mental health good is just as important and allows you to stay in the game, stay motivated, and have those strong days be even stronger.
Yeah, great advice. Terrific advice. And as because of the timing that we've got, I know you got another commitment in a few minutes. I'm going to wrap us up with that because I think that was amazing. And I hope that all of our listeners caught it. If you didn't, roll this thing back and listen again. Ben's got a lot of great advice, visionary. If you've not had the opportunity to eat at Full Metal Burgers, guarantee you will enjoy the experience. Not only the experience, but the meal, of course, as well. And we hope you'll get down there, track them down, and get some of those. What did you say, metal burgers?
Yeah, it's Full Metal Burgers. We're just heavy metal inspired hamburgers. Everything's all based off of either old school metal bands or metal names or like the Legion of Doom from wrestling. Yeah. My wife came up with most of the puns. Everything's hysterical. We get great engagement from people on it. But check us out online. We've got a website, fullmetalburgers.com. We're on Yelp. You can check out reviews and photos. Instagram's got all the stuff, all the social media. We're super easy to find.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure for me to talk to you today, Ben. Thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing your experiences and your knowledge and your thoughts and advice on different topics. I'm sure our listeners got a lot out of it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate you reaching out and bringing us on.
Well, we appreciate you being on. And for all our listeners, this is Jeff Johnson again, your host of the Local Leaders Podcast. We appreciate you being here today and look forward to you tuning in to our next episode. Thank you.